5 regular covered items can be exchanged for 1 regular knife item.
Bang! That's nice! What?
1.5 million to... Boom!
Reds are going for 16 times the amount.
If you're looking at your inventory value, just know you're loved and it's okay.
You've heard the news. The CSGO market has completely and utterly flatlined. This has affected everyone, including me. And don't worry, a little bit later into the video, I will show you how I've been absolutely financially ruined by these changes. Now, if you haven't checked your CSGO inventory right now on Steam, you probably don't want to.
$58K 2 days ago. Now we make a shake. Let's see, guys. 58K. Ah! Yo! What?
Valve has introduced one of the worst updates imaginable, which has basically turned the CSGO market subreddit into a hotline. That isn't even a joke, by the way. There are multiple posts on the subreddit linking actual hotlines for people to contact, because for some people, this has absolutely ruined them.
So then, when your butterfly knife or your M9 gamma Doppler go down $3,000 overnight, and you're stuck in the middle of the woods because it's the one time you go out the whole year, and you can't sell, it's fine. It is what it is.
So Valve, you know, it's a company that we love. They can't count to 3 and they'll never fix Team Fortress 2. But we could live with that because CSGO was mostly untouched. That was until they added the ability to trade 5 covert or red quality items into 1 knife or a pair of gloves.
A lot of people messaged me and were like, yo, look at this. What is this? They were saying knife trade-ups. And I laughed it off, thinking, yo, this is another April Fool's. I checked the date. It was in April. GG.
Now, to the average person that doesn't have their life savings on CS, it doesn't really seem to be much of a problem. You know, you trade 5 less rare items into 1 better item. I mean, that's a win-win for everyone, right? Well, this actually caused the CSGO market to lose $2 billion instantly overnight. That is an insane amount of money, and this has also had like a ripple effect as well to items that you couldn't even get in the first place, because everyone is basically like mass panic selling their items now. Now, before that, the market was actually doing pretty well, averaging between around $4 to $5 billion. Now, I don't like to speak positively about Americans in any way, but if you're American, you kind of benefited because you found out first. So there was a chance that you managed to get in quick and then sell all your items before the mass majority of people, like the Euro pores and the Russian pores, realized what was happening, especially for the Euro pores, because while this market crash was happening, most of them that weren't absolute degenerates, they were asleep, blissfully unaware that they were probably losing thousands of dollars. Now, I said that they lost $2 billion, which is quite a lot of money if you don't get a raid sponsorship, but that was only the beginning. Again, I'm not a fortune teller. Valve could possibly go back on their word. Although at this point, you've probably got a higher chance that they update the Xbox 360 version of Team Fortress 2. But honestly, I now expect the market to free fall even more than the $2 billion that were lost. So Valve, which again has one of the smallest employee counts of any kind of big video game company and also has one of the highest paying per employee, they did a rug pull. They rug pulled all of us. But don't worry, guys. This was all a huge ploy to get you to move over to Deadlock. Please play Deadlock, guys. I mean, if they tried to even add like a market to Deadlock, I feel it would just completely fall flat because how like fucked over people feel now. Now, this isn't the only reason for the market crashing. There have been like some other reasons kind of stewing in the background as well. I mean, take the update of the dodgy mortgage banks that were selling houses, and that eventually caused the 2008 financial crash. Players did point out in the past that there was this bubble that was eventually going to burst, mostly because rare items would continuously rise in price, which, as you would expect, that price cannot rise forever, and eventually it's going to pop, bringing everyone back down to earth. I mean, the market was already becoming more saturated. There was always new cases, new skins being released. And on top of this as well, people have pointed out that a lot of investors have actually been using CSGO, of all places, as a safe way to keep their investment money in. And just to show that there's a knock-on effect and it isn't literally just gloves and knives. I mean, this skin here, you know, it was, I mean, usually around £155. Now it's dropped to like £90. And then you've got other skins like this AUG. It's worth £700. But I mean, that wasn't really affected too much. They knocked like, you know, 100 quid off it, but that could just be like a random trade variation because this is like an item that is basically barely ever sold. Like, you know, compared to stuff that's traded, you know, multiple times a day. And then you've got the knives. Okay, I get it. Look, I have a poor man's inventory. You know, these are the most like dog standard knives imaginable. But you can just see here how it goes down constantly. Like, it used to be worth, I'd say, about £100, and now it's dropped down to about £30. And it even says that like 10 of them were sold in the past 24 hours. And then this butterfly knife I've got, I mean, you know, it started at like 300, and then 8 have been sold in the last 24 hours. Yeah, there we go. It goes straight from 800 to 300. That's like less than half of its value. That is insane. I mean, this Galil I had as well, I've no idea why it started at £100. I don't know, furries or something, I guess. But even here, you know, like basically a couple of days ago, it was worth 200, and now it's being sold for £78. So again, less than half of its value. And then you also have the reverse cope, where prices for other skins are somehow still going up. Like this P90 Asimov I've been sitting on for like, you know, 7 years or something. People are actually still selling that now, and it's just going up in value. It's ridiculous. These shadow daggers I have as well, you know, they were worth consistently about 100 to 140, and now it's just like 60 quid. It again, it's still worth something. Okay, ignore the name. I don't know who. I think someone gifted me that. Ignore the name on that. I mean, here I've got this like stat track Mac 10 neon, but you can even see here people are just like panic buying and selling it because they don't know what's going to happen to the market next. Like 27 of these were sold in the last 24 hours. Now, people have actually had like game theories, or more like schizo theories, that Valve has actually been doing a little bit of market manipulation for their own benefit. And this isn't the first time that Valve have been accused of stuff like this in the past. I mean, if you remember back in 2024, Valve was actually accused of ripping off players by jacking up the price of Steam games so they could take a larger cut. And that's because Steam pretty much entirely dominates the PC market. And also because of this weird brand loyalty that people have. I know I'm incredibly guilty of that. I remember, like, for example, when Far Cry 6 came out, or like when the Outer Worlds came out, they came out onto Epic first. I bought it. I didn't enjoy it because I didn't get the Steam achievement pop-up. I know, I'm mentally ill. And then I almost double-dipped when it came out onto Steam like a year later. Haven't finished either of those games, by the way. Unfortunately, they were both painfully mid, despite the fact that I gave Ubisoft and Obsidian money twice. Now, the CSGO market subreddit has actually pointed out that a really suspicious amount of people have pumped their money into buying reds and stuff that would usually be like pretty low value items 15 days before the patch came out. Now, reds are obviously pretty good because you can then trade them for golds. But why would they do that if they didn't actually know about the update? And it caused some people to again believe that there was some huge insider trading ring going on between Valve and some high spenders in the market. So they were like basically warned before the changes took hold so they could benefit the most. There's actually images floating around as well of like Chinese inventories with huge numbers of red skins. And they're now a very good asset to own. But 2 weeks ago, it would be pretty mid to have that in your inventory. So if you are completely lost at this point, don't worry. I had to do loads of research for this, which was like opening 5 tabs on Google. But again, it comes to cosmetics, right? Like every game has cosmetics. Overwatch, sorry for the people that still play that, by the way. Rainbow Six Siege and CSGO, they have this kind of loot box type system. These cases can be earned through playing games. You can buy them off the market. And you can also get them from ranking up. Now, cases can vary, but for the majority of them, they are dirt cheap. Like, I'm talking literal pennies or cents. But that's not the issue. You need a key to open them, and the keys are always consistently the same price. Usually somewhere between £5 and £6. Now, for the cases, you can get skins, and they're obviously ranked by rarity. White being the most common. And then you've got light blue, blue, purple, pink, red, and then gold being, you know, the most valuable. I'm sure you've seen many people opening cases and they do the soy face when they get a gold knife.
Gold, 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 gold. Oh, I fainted! Please!
Now, the usual method is the higher the color rarity, the more expensive it is. There are obviously some exceptions here, like, for example, you know, Dragon Lore, or, you know, the 7 people that still care about the Asimov skins. I mean, the Dragon Lore, for example, despite it being red, it was only available in the first set of cases that were dropped. Meaning, technically, its rarity is actually a lot higher than you getting a gold on anything else. And then on top of that as well, you've got durability. So there's basically 2 tiers to this now. Obviously, it's a cosmetic. It's got no effect on the gun whatsoever. It's basically just how the skin will look. You've obviously got factory new, which is the one that you want. It looks very nice, and you get the full decal. And then you get battle scarred, which just looks like a complete piece of shit. Why did I bother with this? And then on top of this as well, there's another value, which is a string of numbers called the float value. So there's a lot of avenues for people to try to basically jack up the prices to make profit. There are definitely people that make their living off just doing trades on CSGO. I mean, if you're still not following, hello, Pokemon. Okay, I'll do a Pokemon comparison. It's like, you know, the equivalent between like a PSA 8 and then a PSA 10. But obviously, you'll never get a PSA 10. You'll always get a 9.5 because they don't know how the printing machines work at the factory. The rarer the card is, the more expensive it's going to be. And then obviously Steam hosts this with the marketplace. And also keep in mind, Valve did an amazing job, you know, trying to dodge any kind of claims that they were gambling, how this was gambling. I mean, it is gambling, come on. But Valve classified them as legal goods. Obviously, that won't stop you from going onto a third-party site and gambling the skins on there. But that's one of the reasons, apart from Russians, why CSGO is incredibly successful. Because technically, if you play your cards right, you can actually make a profit. You can't do that in Valorant or Overwatch. You get the skins, there's no market to trade them or anything like that. And if there was, I haven't heard about it, and it's probably a lot more niche compared to CSGO. I mean, if you spend hundreds on CSGO cases and then maybe one day you get a gold, you could actually sell it and then make all your money back and do the exact same thing again. But now with the ability to trade reds to get a gold, you can easily see how this system of rarity has just completely collapsed overnight. Golds aren't rare anymore. That's why they don't have as much value, meaning people's skins aren't as valuable and then they lose their price. Now, all of this comes as a surprise because, you know, it seemed like the CSGO market was doing pretty good for itself. I mean, there's even a clip of me on a recent stream basically getting told by my content manager to check my Steam inventory because apparently it spiked and I made like $6 grand profit or something like that.
What the is that my CSGO inventory?
Okay, that's the wrong thing. Nearly had an incident there, nearly. What do I have? It's definitely some knife that no one cared about. And then some oil baron just bought like all of the stock. Well, this seems to be in a large part because of the Chinese users pretty much manipulating the entire market. I mean, there are lots of pump groups within China, and they basically just throw money into anything, artificially inflating the prices. Are we gonna make a joke about that? No, we're better than that. Come on, grow up. But because they do that, they push the total market value higher and higher. And this gave the illusion that a lot of players, that the market was healthy. It's growing. I mean, the graph is going up. The items that I have are becoming more expensive. Or the Sand Dune P250s went from 45 pence to 46 pence. What's not to love? Now, to find a definitive reason of why Chinese players are doing this is a bit difficult, mostly because it's a lot of decentralized groups, and partly as well, I don't speak Chinese. I am not Chinese. I do not speak Chinese. This is completely off topic, by the way, but I have spent some nights out here with Anything for Views. And he just has this bit where he just says, I'm Chinese, for no reason. I mean, if anything, he's basically trying to self-report that he's one of these, like, inflation traders. I mean, despite China's name, the leading party, and how it likes to present itself, China, it does dabble in capitalism. It engages in the world economy. It has banks, businesses. It is capitalist. So, in capitalism, it's people's interest to get very, very rich. And obviously, everything costs something, but the more money you have, the more secure you'll be. But the issue is China has a lot of regulations about how you're actually allowed to use your money. I mean, a good example here is China has made gambling, for the most part, illegal. There are loopholes around it, of course. I mean, there always is. But that's one of the main reasons, like me being in Australia at the minute, you will see at casinos so many Chinese people because they will literally fly over to escape that law. And also as well, despite holding the world's third largest stock exchange, the Shanghai Stock Exchange, there's obviously a lot of government intervention and oversight. So people believe because the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, can't actually involve itself within the CSGO market, you have a lot of rich Chinese people that could be actually using it as a sort of back end to invest money into. You can't really tax stocks, or at least the government don't really tax stocks. They'll only tax you once you actually take the money out of the stocks. I mean, I'm sure you've heard about the richest people in the world, you know, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. They probably have most of their money within their stocks. I even remember seeing this thing about Amazon, how they're basically just like an infinite money generator because they will take loans from the bank. And obviously, when you take a loan from a bank, you need to pay interest. But by the time that their company has gone up in value, they can pay it back with the interest and still actually be in profit because they're such a monolithic company. It literally is a GTA 5 free money glitch. So again, you know, you got it in stocks. But what if I want to take it out of the stocks and buy myself a yacht like Gabe Newell does? Well, you can, you know, shift around your earnings, hide them in unregulated markets, like, for example, CSGO. And then you can take your money out more slowly and you'll be taxed less on your earnings and then be able to keep your money. There is a scene in Breaking Bad that talks about this. If you remember, I think it's Saul Goodman talking to Jesse Pinkman explaining how money laundering works.
Here's you, right? Pinkman, get it?
And I think he's getting a foot bath as well at the same time for some reason. I don't know why I remember that. Now, this does give the illusion that the market is doing incredibly well. However, upon closer inspection and recent developments, it really isn't. It's just more money being shifted around, being pumped in and then slowly drawn out. Now, you'd expect that money going in and then money going out to kind of have a negligible effect on the market as ultimately nothing really changes. But this does have the side effect of then causing massive... The I word. The I word. Okay, I'm not gonna say it again. I'm not gonna give you that. So yeah, again, the bubble was bound to pop with or without Valve's intervention. So what did we learn from today's video? We learned about market manipulation, China, CSGO, Gabe Newell has multiple yachts, and also, okay, look, the market's dead right now. Look, I've got Steam. Here is my Steam. I have the trade offer link in my bio. Please send me something. Please send me something very expensive and worth a lot of money. That is the only reason I made this video. If there is some like rich oil baron that's got some dragon lore worth like 20k, please gift it to me. You will get nothing in return, but you'll make me a very happy boy. If anyone's wondering, by the way, what the most expensive item in my Steam inventory is, it's this pyro mask here. Someone gave it to me and they put the name tag on it, Fat Furpologist mask. Apparently it started at 600 quid. What's it worth now? 280. It's over. It's over. I'm broke. It's over.